Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Can we please rise for prayer, please, and follow me in silence? Surely I have been turned to thee, O Allah, trying to be upright, to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not among the polytheists. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for thee, O Allah, the Lord of the world. No associate has he, and of this I am commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant, and I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I do confess my fault. Grant me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee. And turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none turns away the evil and indecent morals but thou. And O Allah, guide me to the best of morals, for none guides to the best of morals but thou. O Allah, bless Muhammad and the true followers of Muhammad, as thou didst bless Abraham and the true followers of Abraham. For surely thou art praiseworthy and magnified. And O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and the true followers of Muhammad successful, as thou didst make Abraham and the true followers of Abraham successful. For surely thou art praiseworthy and magnified, and I miss forever. Ameen. You may be seated. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant. I greet you in the greeting words in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. How's everybody doing this evening? Fine. Some people said beautiful. How you sisters doing today? Great. Wonderful. So wonderful to be alive. Just think. You couldn't think, could you, if you wasn't alive? Well, we'll raise a couple questions. Brother Jabril is on his way. What is esteem? How many of us really know what esteem is? What is self-esteem? What is self? What is self? Do we know what the Caucasians say self is and what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say self is? Something is kind of off-centered here. It feels funny. Okay. There you go. What is low esteem? I tried to find in the dictionary I was looking at real briefly to find the word low esteem, but it didn't have it in it. So I would advise you to go look up the word low and the word esteem and put them together, and you come out with a definition. Now, low is not a short definition, even though it's a three-letter word. It's long, fat, and juicy. Then what is high esteem? Not high off of alcohol or drugs, but high esteem. What is that? We have had our self-esteem stomped through the ground. Stomped into the earth. But we have one named the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Since we've been stoned to the earth, like truth crushed to the earth, it will rise again. Right? Are you worth anything? Have you ever felt like, you are more valuable than your actions, your deeds, the things that you have accomplished? Do you really deep inside feel more worthy of the things that you have or the education that you feel like you need to have? Do we value ourselves? What is value? How do we regard ourselves in the light of this whole big old planet? As nothing? As something? Worth a little bit? Worth a lot of bit? are worth nothing? How do we value the things that Allah has allowed us to acquire that's dear to us? What about our children? How do we value our children? Brother Jabril used to tell us you can't love greater than your knowledge. So we raise another question. How do we value knowledge? Do we really value, do we think the knowledge that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has given us is of any real value? I think we talked about a word, if I recall, what was the word we talked about? It's called, I know it, I'm just acting like I don't know it. Appreciation. Appreciation. What is appreciation? One thing, there's a word called depreciation. What happens when we depreciate the word of Allah? What happens? What becomes of us? We go backwards, right? In the Christian church, they call it backslide. They be doing the moonwalk backwards, right? The group war called it slipping into darkness. Don't, right? It's got a nice beat. They used to get down, we used to dance hard on that one. It bust loose on the radio or the sound system, but we be slipping into darkness. It didn't have that ring to it where it brought you real joy, but it make your bottom want to rock. Boy, this thing is right in your face. Thank you. We have to get one of those rostrums that you can have a mic on it, where you don't. The roster don't have to do the rock, and it's smaller pounding, the beating the truth. High. What is high? How often do we look up that word, high? What is high? In the grave, we always thought high had some association with something material that you had to inhale, shoot up, drink up, swallow, peel up. That's what we associated high with, right? And we never could get high unless we had something that the devil was bringing us down. We thought we was high, but we was depressed. Running away from some problems, trying to get some joy. So we got what we call high. But how does God get high? God is high. Allah is way up. How do we value being high? I use the word intoxicated with the wisdom of God. How are we valuing that word? How much of the word are we consuming that's intoxicating to our mind that makes us really high on the Spirit of God? High esteem. How do we regard ourselves in the light of everything that we have learned? Regard. Esteem, low esteem. I looked up the word low. At first it's talking about a sound. It talked about a certain kind of sound an animal makes. But you go look up that word, it's a fat dictionary. A fat word. So our principal speaker is here. So at this time, let's please bring on our brother Jabril Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but He, and Muhammad is His servant. Are you here to learn something? Well, I think that we have something that's very important, that I know this applies to every one of us. And, of course, we only have a few minutes to do it. We have to be out of here by 9. To get out by 9, we have to do what we got to do and finish before 9 to get out by 9. Overcoming low self-esteem. Now, there's so much that should be said. Even to introduce that subject is not even fine. Definitions and whatnot. But I'm going to skip past all of that and try to do it as rapidly as I can. And I would really call this an introduction because there's so much to the subject. Brothers and sisters, would you agree that it's unnatural for a person to walk around without the knowledge of themselves? That it's unnatural to walk around without loving yourself? Absolutely unnatural. And the fact that we had to be told, for example, that we didn't know our name, that alone indicates how unnatural our condition has been. Now, we are, I wouldn't say the victims. In a certain sense we are, but in a very, very broad sense, we are the end product of a process that's been taking place since the beginning of creation. In a certain sense. In another sense, you could say ever since 66 trillion years ago, as we've been taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but God revealed to him that there has been, that was the time when the knowledge of God was kept secret from the general masses of the people. Okay? And then we skip all the way to 50,000 years ago and what we've been taught. And 50,000 years ago is when there was a black man whose name was Jabril, who took his family, he disagreed with the other scientists, and took his family and went into what's today called Africa. And that began a 50,000-year fall. And in this last 6,000 years, of course, we've had our complete fall, but especially since 1855. We went completely to zero. And brothers and sisters, without taking the time, not to be superficial, but without taking the time to think and study and engage in intelligent discussion over these points, you will never really appreciate how valuable this wisdom is and how silly it is for us to toss this aside 15 or 20 cents. How valuable is the knowledge of self? What can you think of that equals it? Can you pay for it? What's it worth? Big time, huh? Now, I don't know what you're doing with your days right now. I'm wrapped up in two big projects. Big for me. I'm not going to get into it because that's not what we're here for, except to say one involves negative and one involves something that I'm writing. And it's from can't see to can't see. So I haven't what you call studied for the talks that I've been making the last several weeks. I'm going from what God has already blessed me that I already know based on prior study. And that's what I'm doing tonight. The key thing that I want to say, which I'm going to come to in a moment, came to me on my way to the coffee shop this morning around 20 minutes to 7. And it came to me like in a flash. But again, it's what we already have studied. Now, if you don't study and you have nothing in the bank to draw from, I've been drawing from a bank the last month or 2 or 3, whatever it's been that I've been talking with you. Those of you who paid attention to what I've said, you can see that in what I've been saying, I mean, this teaching is so rich, you can't hardly say one thing without it casting light on something else that may not even be your subject. Well, we've been touching low self-esteem indirectly. I want to hit it directly. Now, you know what low self-esteem is, don't you? You can define it by describing how you oftentimes feel. You don't like yourself, which you should be past that, but that's still something that we're dealing with. Our people as a whole don't like themselves, partly because of what we've been taught about ourselves, partly because of the condition that we actually are in, which is bad. I mean, poverty makes you feel bad, doesn't it? You can stop on that. Being poor is expensive. Think about the things that you need. Forget about what you want. The things that you need. We don't have all that we need, do you? It make you feel bad. Now, before I go further on that, I want to take up 2 points. Are you aware of the earthquake that has struck Turkey? Rough, isn't it? Let me zero in on what is in the paper. First the headline, and then the words that's in today's paper. Did you see today's Arizona Republic? It's the issue that has in it an article that indicates this woman in Mesa, Arizona, lied. She tried to get her husband's attention by saying somebody raped her. Isn't that cold? And there have been people in the past who were murdered by the state because somebody else told a lie like that. Cold. Is that an intelligent way to gain your husband's attention? Now she's in legal trouble. Now, you saw this headline? Why, comma, God, comma, why? Sounds like anguish, huh? Pain. Inside the paper, it's in front of it. Was a woman trying to pry away. Mother tried to pry away a wall of cement blocks that she believed covered the room of her baby daughter. She eventually gave up and pounded her fist on the remains of her home. Just those few words give you a picture of great anguish. I can't, and I'm not going to try to get into her spirit. Okay? She says, no, 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 she yelled. Why, God, why? Somebody evidently heard her. I doubt that she wrote this down herself. I doubt that she described what she was going through. Somebody else did that. They observed it. In the state of mind she obviously was in when screaming out these words, if God had responded, would she have understood? Think about times in your life when you raised questions to God himself. Sincere. But the state of mind you were in was such where there's no way you could ever have understood if God himself had spoken directly to you. Okay? Now, I'm leaving that. That's a lot to think about. I'm leaving that to come to the Pope. He just recently said to his worldwide congregation, there is no heaven or hell in the sky or under the ground to which people go after they're dead. Now, I just wrote an article which Brother Anthony, who I don't see him, sent off to the final call from you, volume 18, number 43. I kind of threw this article together because I'm way behind on my articles because of what else I'm doing right now. But I raised the question. One point. I said, to get into the whys of Minister Farrakhan, we cannot avoid the scripture. Now, that's out of context, I know. But now, what are these books? Where did the true information in them originally come from? What is the ultimate source of their authority? Can we really gain this understanding? As recently reported in the final call, volume 18, number 40, Pope John Paul is now introducing to his worldwide congregation the world over what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught since the early 1930s, that heaven and hell are not two places we go to after death, but two states of condition in this life. The Pope now teaches that there is no heaven up in the sky nor hell under the ground. Whose power moved him to break with the traditional teachings of his church? Is what he is now teaching influenced by his expectation of the return of Jesus? If there is no heaven up in the sky as they have taught for near 2,000 years ago, then where is Jesus coming from on his way back to the earth? Other questions such as, since there's no hell in the ground, who produces hell on top of the ground? And whoever did that, that's the real devil. I mean, what this man has done is opened something up he can never close. Okay? There's a lot of questions that could be raised. We could make a very interesting discussion here tonight just off of that, because what that does, that opens up a whole floodgate. And once you say something like that, you can't stop it. Because now, if Jesus is not in the sky, then where did he come from? Some other planet? Where is he coming from? Since he's expected by the Christian world. If he's not coming from the sky, then where is he coming from? And if he's just left his father when he gets here, where's his father? I mean, you see, you start asking these questions, and you lead to something that says, uh-oh. Now, is the Pope maybe trying to set up something for something they have in mind? As I hinted to you earlier this year, or was it last year? I forgot. I don't remember, but I'll leave that for now. I want then to ask you to go back and take time tonight, tomorrow, as soon as you can, and reread what you think you've already gotten down pat. The second chapter of this book. First chapter deals with the coming, not just that he's coming, but also the presence of God. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is laying down clear, he's arguing the case that God who was to come has arrived. I met him. He told me to tell you all such and such a thing. Right? And now here comes Minister Louis Farrakhan and said, I met the man who met God, and he told me to tell you all such and such a thing. Right? Then the next chapter deals with what? Who we are. Doesn't it? Who are we? Now, why is it that we have, even in the nation, and even in this room, many of us, the problem of low self-esteem in the face of this kind of knowledge? Now, I'm not going to read you this whole thing, but I hope that maybe some kind of way you can get this information before the paper comes out. But at the end of the whole article, there's something that I quoted from Minister Farrakhan. It's a very beautiful thing. He talks about the wisdom that we have been given in the form of our lessons as a filter, through which we filter the knowledge of this world. Now look, there's two kind of knowledges, basically. Or maybe this, no, let me put it like this. There's the knowledge that's already in you by reason of your being one born of God himself. That's in your entire makeup. It's all in your subconscious. There is the knowledge that comes from the God who is external to ourselves. There's also Satan's information. Okay? Now the knowledge that the God, the Supreme Being, has revealed, that's right in accord with our nature. There's a matchup. It feeds our nature. Satan's knowledge destroys ourselves from within. Okay? At the end of this article, I said, now, what if we refuse to study what Minister Farrakhan refers to as the filter? See? We haven't strengthened the filter that we all have. We haven't taken proper regard or haven't had proper respect for the wisdom we've been given. Maybe it's because it's used in very simple Anglo-Saxon words. The word looks too simple. We think we already know. Those of you who've been on the assignment that I asked you to get on, you are getting a revelation, aren't you? Because you're looking at words and seeing meanings you didn't know were there. In sentences, you thought you understood. You did, but you didn't understand them as deep as you're understanding them now if you are simply using your dictionary. The last sentence in this article, if we would properly study the Word of God, as he has urged us to do, we could quickly get back to the Spirit of Allah on a higher or deeper level than was the case we were in when we first accepted this teaching. See my point? So, we accepted this teaching and we were jacked up, juiced up, fired up like a rocket, right? And then we didn't do, collectively speaking, the next step and study. So then there's gradually a drop down. And then the defects in ourselves and others then weigh in on us. And so the strength that could have been built up in us as a consequence of proper study wasn't there because we didn't do the next thing. We forgot we were in a classroom. Who's the head of the classroom? God himself. So then we, being in his vast classroom, don't do the next thing. Isn't that silly? You go up and you register to go to school. You sit there. You know you don't know the subject. The teacher gives you homework and you refuse to do it. You've got to get a failing grade. And wouldn't it be a big drag to go down with your enemy? To get the same grade the enemy gets? He's destined to get this grade. D, doomed, done in, done over, done out. Why should we get his grade? All right. All praise be to Allah. Look, so much for this. These books are big time. So much for the article, so much for the newspaper. What does esteem mean? Brother Jackie, did you define it? You did? Okay. Esteem. Esteem is a connection with the word estimation. Huh? Is it? I'm asking you. You don't even know. Self-estimation. Look, since we are from the first God, I'm just going to summarize the whole thing like this. You believe that? You believe what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, which Minister Farrakhan has spread throughout the planet, that you as an individual, you're not just from your mother and father, but you are actually from God himself. That's how you became his child. Do you actually feel that connection? If you do not feel that connection, you're still ignorant. Because the more knowledge you have, the more you feel it. You sense it. But you want to get beyond feel to know. You cannot know that without study. You can feel it instinctively. That's just rudimentary knowledge. But if you study, specifically study, you feel it, then you come to know it. You realize that it's true. You hear what I'm saying so far? You can be this can be a 5 more minute subject, and you can get out of here in 5 more minutes. Now look, do you love what you don't know? If I tell you there's a man over there in India who knows you and loves you, his name is John Davidson. I'm just making up a name. So what? You know nothing else about it. What do you feel about it? Nothing. Why? You don't know him. Now, we've been taught that this first God created himself. Was love involved? How you know? How you know? There's something about yourself that tells you that. You wasn't back there. How the hell do you only know by what you call circumstantial knowledge. But the deeper you get into yourself, there you gain direct knowledge. Because he's still down in you and I today. But if you don't go down deep enough into yourself, you can't tap into him. You can't reach him. Why do you think the wise people of the planet who have looked deep enough say to know thyself is to know God? To know God is to know thyself. Why? Because God is in you. How did he get in you? He birthed you. So now, if you tap down deep enough in God himself, you'll meet him. That's one form. Now, let's come another way. You ever have a scratch on your hand that did not become infected, and you did nothing, and it healed itself? Right? That's one of many, many indications that this human body of ours has a built-in self-regulation. Now, if you go and get knocked down by a car or get your leg cut off, your self-regulation going to get that leg back on the rest of your body. You need some drastic help. You hear what I'm saying? If the thing that went wrong is not too bad. Now, there's a brother, Womack, the other day, the baseball player in the Diamondback. He slid into some base, stealing a base, got a scratch, some kind of way, I don't know how, it became infected. He had to go and do something about that. But most times, the little scratches you and I get, we don't get infected. You know what happened? The body itself healed it. It healed itself. I have a program at home that showed a, there I go again, no choice, thank you. It showed a cat, you know the cat down here? Little blood vessel. And it showed the person getting cut like that. And all the little white blood cells come running. And they pile up. They sacrifice their little lives. They pile up at the leak in the dike, so to speak. And they die. Now remember, if you don't drink enough water, then you're going to build up toxins. You get sick. But the point is, these white blood cells get in here, and they block it up. They keep you from what? From your blood running out. Your red blood cells. They are protecting you from the loss of them other cells. They're sacrificing their lives to save the life of the red blood cells, right? Then, in the next drawing, you see the animation, the walls of the capillary growing back together. That happens to us. It happened to you. Did you will those white blood cells to run over there to stop you from leaking all your blood? Huh? How did that happen? Are there things that go on in your body that you don't consciously control? Did you eat before you came here? Did you have to will yourself to digest the food? You just ate. Your whole concern was the mouth area. Right? You wasn't concerned if the rest of it was taken care of when it was taken care of. You wasn't worrying about that. Huh? You ate. Everything else is fine. You didn't feel nothing, no problems. Everything is cool. Drank the water. You see what I'm getting at? There's a lot of action that goes on without us even paying it any attention. Now, does that show some kind of organization? Does it show knowledge? No, it shows more than knowledge. Your body shows wisdom. Extraordinary wisdom. Well, look, brothers and sisters, on the spiritual side of our same makeup, same thing is true. It's natural for us to want to know who our parents was, isn't it? Even if we came up in a home, didn't know who our parents was, we want to know who they are. You're seeking your origin. Right? You see that point? Now, what are you seeking when you're seeking your origin? What's sitting in us is a built-in, inborn desire to know where we came from. Make a long story short, we want to know God. When you look at the universe, when you was a small boy and girl before you got so sophisticated, you look at creation, what came in your mind? Huh? Who did this? How'd this get here? Right? The same question that comes up in your mind about yourself comes up in your mind when you look at the creation. You're stunned. You're awestruck. If you see some kind of a large TV, 50-some-odd size screen, and they have an animation or something of the universe, it knocks you out. It blows you away. You're awestruck. Who did this? Same point. What I'm driving at is this. In our very makeup, on the quote-unquote spiritual side of ourselves. If we, and there's some ifs there, if our mothers and fathers raised us reasonably well, we grow up with a knowledge of ourselves depending upon what they taught us. Even in this world, have you ever seen a well-rounded or kind of sort of balanced Negro? Problem there. But you see some people that they seem to have a reasonable self-regard. But you don't really find it here. Because you even find the so-called educated people drink to the point where they commit suicide. They drink. Drinking is killing the body, isn't it? Now you can't, I don't care how far and wide you dig in this world, you don't find people exercising the wisdom of the body or the wisdom of the spirit. You don't find that. I'm trying to use some simple language here to get across what I'm trying to say in a real rapid way. What I'm driving at, dear brothers and sisters, is that if we were raised properly, meaning really a Muslim home, and taught almost from the cradle by mama and daddy who we really are and our connection with God, if we would grow up in the early years, go through our adolescence, that troublesome time, and wind up young adults with a balanced self-concept, a proper what? Estimation of ourselves. And so there are certain things we would not do to harm ourselves because we not just respect, we love ourselves. Now that love, part of it is inborn, but part of it had to be cultivated by proper education, by the parents, and also by the school, the teachers. And if the society is a righteous society, the society also helps to build in and educate us properly. We wind up being young adults ready now to handle life out of healthy, not just self-respect. That only means looking at. But I'm talking about you would have a deep affection for yourself. You love yourself. Now, S-E-L-F is what? Nature. That's what the word, if there's any one word, self equals nature. And nature is composed of parts. Proper education would take us into the components of our personal self. On the physical side, you got arm, leg, liver, whatnot, all those various parts. On the non-physical side, you got parts too. Now, simple language is like this. Make it oversimplified to get to the end of this. 99 names of God. 99 names of quality. Follow me? These are very important words. You'll never understand this properly without taking the time to look up the words. And if you don't want to look up the words, what are you saying about yourself? What would hinder you? The only thing that would hinder you from taking the time to use a dictionary is an improper regard for yourself. You can't, it's not a matter of laziness. It's a matter of you don't love yourself sufficiently to go get a book that will help you see into yourself. Plain? Okay. Qualities. These are names of the qualities of yourself. Well, if the 99 names of Allah make up his nature or his self, and you're from him, then what he is composed of, so are you. So the real knowledge of self is to know not just the names, but the names take you into their words from God that take you. The words are like a bridge that you walk across to get into God's knowledge of himself and his knowledge of us. Clear so far? Okay. Now, this is a pretty messy drawing, but you get the point. So, proper self-esteem is built on the proper or the accurate knowledge of your what? Self. And it's natural. The more you learn about yourself, you are naturally going to love self. It's impossible to know yourself and hate yourself too. It's absolutely impossible to really know yourself and have low self-esteem. So overcoming low self-esteem, what? Low. Why is it low? Why isn't it high? Why isn't it average? Why isn't it left or right? Why do we say low? Where did we get the idea of low self-esteem from? Well, the Pope helped us all to see. He says hell is right where you are. The devil did it. And we cooperate with the devil now after knowledge by not doing the first thing. Study. Why? I've been out of school a long time. Hell, you just getting in school. What do you mean you've been out of school? I have believers asking me around the country now, a few people anyway. Well, I've been out of school a long time. I don't know how to make an outline. That's jive. You in school. What the hell? I mean, a lot of people are saying that. I haven't been in school. What have you been doing all these years in the nation? Meaning you haven't seen yourself as a student. Therefore, you haven't done what students do. Therefore, attendance sometimes is bad. You don't feel you have to attend the classroom. Because not only when we meet a few times a week, but it's also in our house. You go home and you don't study. You got books, you're just looking at them. They're ornaments in the house. Why do you have them? Is it for show or is it to pretend? I'm going to get to it. What do you mean? There's about 300 or 400 security companies in town, according to yesterday's paper. They're going to lose business. Some of them are going to shut down because the security systems are not going to work according to the newspaper. September 1st, they would have been too late to make whatever changes they got to make to have the new, what do you call it, area codes put in the system. So somebody may get robbed, and they're going to sue these people. Now, the main lesson I saw in that was too late. Remember, brothers and sisters, you don't want to be in that position. Remember what I said a couple of days ago about the door being shut? The people will scream, the 5 foolish virgins, open to us. Let us in. Right? The Holy Commandment says, what? No. Besides, we didn't shut the door. We ain't got the power to tell the one who shut the door, open it up. You don't want, do you remember that subject, or you forgot it already? This ain't the movies here now, you know what I mean? This ain't the movies featuring Jabril tonight. This ain't that. There's some serious stuff coming down. You don't want to be in that position. Oh, Allah, send me back. I'll do better. You say, no. I've calculated the time and I've been watching you. You blew it. Away with you. None of us want to be in that situation. Remember how it says, they said, we were with you? Yes, fine. But you didn't bring your books, your chalk, your pen, pencil, your paper. You didn't want to be a student. We, in this classroom of God, are becoming, or should be on a lower level anyway, students of what? Life. Students of God, students of the subject called devil, students of reality. So, did you get my point tonight? Is it clear? Simple, huh? This is like an introduction. But I guarantee you, if you look up the words, the 99 names of God, now how in the world are you going to perceive the makeup of God on the physical level? It don't happen like that. You have to get up into his spirit to even want to pick up material, to find, look at the word, the name, and then try to make the effort to understand what these names mean from God's point of view. The 99 names of God is God's self-disclosure. It's also God's self-revelation. It's also God's knowledge of himself. And this teaching ultimately is not just to teach us to be believers in God. No, no, no. If that's all you think, then you don't understand this at all. It is to, as he's put it, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it, it is to make us the gods we used to be. Get us back to what we used to be. Now, I say this without any shame. Minister Farrakhan is a very beautiful example of that. He's gone through a lot of different kinds of changes in his life. And he's made big, in my view, I've been saying this for 21, 22 years, he's made big, and he's so open about himself to give the rest of us a model. This is how to do it, how to translate things in the Word of God into practical life. Do you think, does it seem to you that he's out of the Spirit of God? Do you think he could be out of the Spirit of God for one day and do what he does? How did he first get into it? He accepted the teaching. Then what did he do after that? From what you heard that he said. He's what? Now, can somebody give me the definition of study? Not from what you don't do, but from what you do. What is study? What are the components of study? Does it include reading actively? Does it include listening? Speaking? I read this once in a book a bunch of years ago. Isn't that what you do on Friday nights? You converse with one another, and you teach each other, and you stimulate each other's mind over the Word of God. Minister Farrakhan laying down the study guide. Aren't you stimulated by the spirit of other brothers and sisters? There's not a time you can come to one of those meetings and not be affected positively by the spirit in another. Unless you're just a straight-up unregenerate Negro. You coming in here, pretend to be a Muslim, but you're really a Negro still in disguise. I'm not even saying an Asian. I'm just saying a Negro with an X. Or Muhammad. You see my point? Is it clear what I've covered so far tonight? Now, the last point, of course, is, and sisters and brothers, broadly speaking, the attributes of Allah are the attributes of Allah, whether male or female. There is a female and a male, or masculine and feminine manifestation of those characteristics, but broadly speaking, don't worry about that. First, learn the names of God. How many of you in this room know the 99 names of Allah? Now, what does that mean? What should happen as a direct result of your powerful answer that the world heard through this tape? It's actual, original nature. And if you study your nature, you're studying the nature of God, and you're automatically going to love it. Allah calls the wise, is he not? He calls the beneficent. Do you love beneficent people? Or do you love that quality? Think on what you know about the names of Allah. Think on it. On page 111 of Message of the Black Man, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has 2 fat paragraphs of the names of God. Master Farad Muhammad. Now, what I want to lay on your mind as you walk out is that as you and I grow into the knowledge and therefore the use, and is that as you and I grow into the knowledge and therefore the use and power of ourselves, those names or titles that describe function belong to you. I'm writing something right now in which I'm dealing with the Last Supper, and I'm dealing with all I want to say is another thought. Overcoming low self-esteem. And brothers and sisters, I can say this, it comes to my mind. You and I refusing to do this is part of what makes a gap between ourselves and Minister Farrakhan. It makes a gap between ourselves and God. We're in the spirit of Allah, but a very immature state. If you go back and do what you haven't done all these years and start studying intensively, you get in that state, and you find with each passing day, you'll be in it longer periods of time. Now, down the road, I'm generalizing, as we have been taught. Down the road, after this man's power is broken, there'll be a greater knowledge of it. Or are you going to pray all night long? Now, please. I know that ain't going to happen. But now the question, are you going to pick up a book? Are you going to at least invest an hour of your time? Some of y'all were college students. You used to hit the books up late, didn't you? But now you in the classroom of God, and you think you're going to get it by osmosis. You ain't got to study nothing. Please, you better hit them books. Yes, ma'am. I'm bibbing dropping. America and Russia got a bunch of bombs. How many bombs did they drop? Forget just the fallout. What impact physically did it have on the planet? If somebody takes you and punch you upside your head, is it going to make some crack? White people are talking about these plates. Huh? Okay? What's the origin of it? What's the real origin of it? We got some lessons at home that talk about a relationship between high explosives that were used as experiments. Now, an experiment is something you do to gain knowledge. They were dropping these bombs, inflecting their muscles against each other, but also in studying how to build more powerful bombs. What impact did those bombs have on this earth? Then China got in there. Then India got in it, right? What knowledge do you and I have about it? Sit down and read this article very carefully. Then there's a side article on page 9 or 10. Quake prediction, and then California was ravaged. The Bible talks from Genesis all the way to be able to tune in. Said that in 1972. Didn't he say that in 72? Now I'm asking you the question. What are you going to do tonight? Look at what I just said. Are you going to act like I didn't say nothing? I'm only bearing witness to what you and I all are studying. Are you going to act like that was absolutely nothing? Because I erased it off the board. Now it's gone. Ain't nothing to it. Are you going to turn in your favorite movie tonight? What you going to do? Good challenge, huh?